Most people try to figure out like all the way from A to Z. So I need to know A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F. What you need to do is just understand that the Z is the outcome. I realize that everybody says this.
Take massive action.
Everybody listening to this who is afraid to take the next step knows that they should take massive action. You need balance if you want to build something really big.
This is not the episode for the people chasing overnight success or getting quick rich. Because behind the $150 million a real estate empire, there is a man who nearly lost himself doing it. Bill Allen isn't just a real estate expert. He's an operator, a tactician, a former Navy SEAL pilot who scaled faster than most of us can even imagine. And when I sat down with him, I was expecting strategies, tactics, blueprints. I didn't got any of those. What I didn't expect, but I got, was a pure honesty. The emotional weight of what it really takes to grow to the next levels. The pressure, the identity shifts, the mindset breaking and changing beliefs, the moment of, is this actually worthy of me doing it? And at one point of conversation where the Bill told me, I spent so much time chasing my vision that I almost forgot that I'm having a life behind. That hit me hard, because most of us sprint towards our vision, forgetting why we actually want that, and very often overlooking how much it cost us to get there. This isn't just an episode about a real estate. It's about building something very big, 9-figure big, $150 million big, and do not get burned out. Winning the game without losing your soul. My name is NGrS, and this is NGrS Show. Today with me, Bill Allen. What is the biggest mindset shift you had to make during this transition?
I would say, so I flew airplanes and helicopters for the Navy for 20 years. So I retired a couple years ago, and I built my business while I was active duty. So I built a real estate business while I was active duty. So I was working, I would give some context here. I was working 10 to 12 hours a day flying airplanes. I was strapped to an ejection seat, oxygen mask, G suit, and I was flying students around in Pensacola, Florida. And these are flight students who are learning how to fly. So pretty much every day, I got to try to survive a flight with a student who's trying to kill me and learn how to fly for the first time, right? So I didn't have a normal, like 10 to 12 hours a day like everybody else has to work on their business. So I would say the mindset shift for me to go from, employee, W-2 employee in the military who followed orders, was told what to wear, where to be, what to do a lot of the times, to running my own business was I had to figure out how to take the responsibility for other people and hire people. So 10 to 12 hours a day every day, I couldn't do the work that I needed to do when I was flying the airplane. I needed somebody else. I needed to learn how to delegate that stuff to somebody else and a level of trust in them that they would do a good job, even though they wouldn't do maybe as good of a job as me at that in the beginning. And so that was a big mindset shift for me, was actually hiring and delegating things to other people and being responsible for paying them on a regular basis. So that was the big shift that I had to make, because I was like flipping one house on the side every year on my own. I would do all the work. I was trying to save money. I didn't understand investing in other people, investing in systems. I was using my time. I was just so used to trading time for money. So that was a big shift that I had to make, is not trade my time for money, but understand how to be a little bit smarter. And I see entrepreneurs do that every day. They're just trying to do it all, and they're doing things that they're not good at, or doing things that isn't worth their time as far as the investment goes.
That's very powerful. How did you choose real estate?
So I was investing in the stock market at that time, and everybody that invests in the stock market in the local online forums that I was in and the books that I was reading said don't do real estate. It's risky. It's too expensive. Like whatever. And but I had a couple rental properties. So I had an instructor when I was a young military student who said that I bought a house everywhere I went, and I always made money. And so when I started moving around, I moved 18 times in 20 years. I would buy a house, I'd fix it up when I lived in it, and then I'd rent it out when I left. And I track my net worth every single month. And I encourage everybody that's listening to this to track their net worth every month. Track my net worth every month. And what I saw is the stock market really wasn't growing my net worth that much, but the real estate was. Real estate, I didn't even have a lot of it, and it was growing my net worth. And my main goal was to become financially free. And have a net worth and be smart in my investing career. And so I just said, you know what? Let me try it. Let me try a couple of these. Let me try one. I'm gonna buy a couple more rentals. I'm gonna see what it does. And then my net worth kept doubling every 3 to 5 years. And I was like, wow, this is really incredible. And that's when I joined a coaching program. I kind of went all in on my real estate investing career, and it blew up. I went from doing one house a year. So I flipped one house the year before, and then I did 67 houses the next year while I was active duty. So,
Wow.
and I made about $600,000 of profit to me in my bank account, $600,000, which was like, 5 times what I was making in the military.
It's a
And that
lot.
just changed my life. So it kind of was, I like eased into it a little bit.
Yeah, but that's a lot. This is 67 properties, right? So this is 67x from what
Yeah.
you did before.
Yeah.
That's really significant move. And tell me,
Hey,
are there
but one thing before you ask the next question that I think people need to hear is I had no intention to do 67 properties. My goal was to do 12.
I just
And so I wanted to go from 1 to 12. And what happened was it was just little by little, step by step. It just that I went from doing one house a month to 2 houses a month to 4 houses a month to 6 houses a month. And that first year to get to 67 houses was just it was just working. So I kept going deeper and deeper and doing more. So it just worked. It clicked. So don't go out and say, hey, I've seen people try to go from 1 to 67 and and they try to build that from the start. I built it responsibly. I call it scaling responsibly. It's a book that I'd love to write one day, is Scale Responsible, because I would just take the money and reinvest it back in the business, and little by little we just got more and more and more. So
That would be amazing book, but I just wanted to ask you exactly this. Was it intentionally built or not? Was it your goal or not? And now you answered to that question even before I asked. And tell me one thing. We are speaking today, May 2025, right? How long ago this was? And is it this type of business still possible to model, or something's heavily changed in that type of business?
yeah, absolutely. So that was in 2015. So I started in 2013 and 2014. I flipped one house in 2013. I flipped one in 2014. And then in 2015, I did 67. In 2016, I did 135. In 2017, I did 187. And then we did 200 houses a year from then on until COVID. When COVID hit in, the middle of 2020, our whole business kind of stopped. We had to shift the model, and we went to doing about 60 houses a year. So now we do about between 50 and 60 houses a year every year, but it's much more profitable. It's a leaner team. So the answer is yes, it's 100% possible. Now, there's principles, strategies, and tactics in any business and any marketplace. The principles never change. The strategies change over time. Like during COVID, I had to change my strategy. And then the tactics change somewhat regularly. The tactics I look at is like maybe there's a new software or a new thing that you're doing, but you have the underlying principles of business. That'll never change. People are going to make money in real estate, any market, any time, any year, nonstop, for sure. And then it's based on the strategy. Your strategies are going to need to change over time. So every few years, you might have to look at your strategy and say, is this still effective? And this goes for any business, not just real estate. And then the tactics are some of the things that we're actually executing on. So like cold calling is a perfect example. Cold calling was a tactic that we used. It was a strategy with tactics, right? It was like 5-line dialers, 10-line dialers. We're calling thousands of people until the regulations started coming in. They started marking phone numbers as spam very easily. And it just started to not become as profitable as it was before. So we had to change both strategies and the tactics involved. So yeah, absolutely, you could do it today. It's just different. You wouldn't set it up. You wouldn't follow my exact blueprint from 2015. You would follow the blueprint that I've created for 2025. And so totally possible. I have students, members, clients. We call them members of our community. Like, right, not my students, not my clients. These are members. I help them build their real estate businesses, and they're doing it today. I got people going from 2 houses a year to 50 houses a year every single year.
I'm so glad you said that because people are consistent in fear of if something comes new, they believe that this business model or type or niche of the business is completely going to collapse. Now, with AI coming rapidly in our lives, taking almost over all and everything what we humans can do, people are freaking out. And I'm often hearing, oh no, sales are going to be done only by AI. This is going to be done only by AI. Yeah, maybe, but still the principles will not change and still the business will keep going and thriving. And I'm so glad you said that. And I believe that over that journey, now we can say for a decade, you had so many challenges. And definitely you faced at the very beginning way more than later on. Can you name me some of the biggest challenges and the way you overcome them? Was it helpful that you are ex-Navy test pilot, that you have some sort of bigger discipline than regular human beings, or how you went through that?
Well, I think I'm a regular human being, but
Yeah.
so you said possibly more challenges in the beginning than later, and I would say it's probably flipped. I feel like people might think that. I think in the beginning the challenge is in your mind most of the time. It's like you
Mm,
mentioned fear. Fear is a big detractor. It's a big problem in people. They won't even take the step from A to B because they're afraid. And fear I think is synonymous to risk. So I think fear and risk are pretty similar. So I don't know that people are afraid. I think they see risk and they don't know how to make a risk decision.
wow.
So what I was saying in the beginning is later on in business, I think when you get more successful, there's bigger dollars at stakes. Usually that time you probably face like bigger challenges, right? The bigger problems we can solve, the more effective and more money we'll make, right? But like there's a problem at every point. So don't think that because you're just getting started, there's going to be bigger problems, or later on, there's going to be bigger problems. There's just always problems. And so if you want to be successful, you've got to become a master problem solver. And so those are the two things. Let's talk about risk and let's talk about problem solving. Because those two things, I think the military set me up really well to do. I think the military teaches me, and especially as a pilot. As a pilot, I'm constantly being thrown in scenarios and situations that I have to figure out along the way in all of my training. So flying in combat or flying, a mission is we train 100 times for the one time that we go fly a mission or in combat, right? And so training is where we have to make decisions. We go in the simulator, we get questions and answers. We have to take tests. We have an instructor flying with us asking us what we would do if this happened, what we would do if that happened. And we're constantly training. I think in business we don't train enough. Like we go out there and might do stuff, but we don't train. And so if you
Mhm.
want to make a risk decision, there's a couple things that need to happen. So as a young entrepreneur or as a budding entrepreneur, like you want to get started, usually risk is what's stopping you. So how can you overcome the risk? I only make risk decisions, and these are military principles. We only make risk decisions when the benefit outweighs the cost. So when I look at something and I say, so this is weighing outcomes. So hey, if I start this business, I could make $1 million. Okay, if I start this business and I invest $10,000 or 15 or 20,000 in a coaching program, I could not fulfill my obligation. I could not do the work. I could, fold the business, and I might lose $20,000.
Mm.
So, and some of my time, and maybe I don't like it. Or so now when I say, okay, am I willing to put up a $20,000 risk in some of my time for $1 million outcome? Does the benefit outweigh the cost? And so if the answer is yes, then what are you waiting for? Just go, jump. Okay. If the answer is no, then that's probably why you have such push and pull. Should I do this? Should I join this program? Should I start this business? Should I do this thing? Right. And then the next piece is we only make risk decisions at the appropriate level. So in business, in my business, there's people that work for me that are not allowed to make certain decisions. They can't make a 50 or $100,000 risk decision without coming to me and me putting my stamp of approval on it. And then there's other things that they should be making decisions without coming to me. So we only make the risk decisions when benefits outweigh the cost. So we only decide to go do this thing if the benefit outweighs the cost. So that's something inside your business. And then figure out what level the risk decisions are made. And so if you're a beginning entrepreneur, you should be it's up to you to make all these decisions, right? And so that's the risk piece is like it's risk. It's not you're afraid because you're afraid of risk. And so that's what's stopping you. And so people that can make risk decisions fairly easily are a lot of people that have been put in scenario-based training primarily. I look at doctors, lawyers, police officers, firefighters, military folks, even raised by some of these folks, like your whole life, you probably were put in some sort of risk scenario based by your parents, possibly. And so my entire career for 20 years in the military was putting myself in situations and scenarios, whether I'm talking my way out or I'm flying my way out in a simulator. And it's the same thing in business. I just look, and so we're talking about decision making, right? I'm constantly having to make little decisions throughout the entire day. Every decision has an outcome. I'm weighing the outcome based on the risk and just analyzing it in my head over and over and over again and making a decision. Most people get stuck. They never make a decision. They don't have success. So I realize that was a little bit more technical answer maybe, but it's risk and decision making, and those two are what the military prepared me for greatly. And I'm different than anybody else on the planet. Okay, I'm probably not smarter than a lot of you. I might not have answers in certain areas. There's certain things that I do really well, and there's 80% of what people do that are 100 times better than me. I just focus on the areas that I'm really good at, and I let the other people do the areas I'm not good at.
You drop here such a big value bomb, I must say that, because this is absolutely very powerful and open on two next questions for me to ask you. And the first one is, would you agree with me then that we are actually never ready to do something? We just decide when we are ready and we go ahead. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts
I
on
mean,
this?
if you're waiting till you're ready, yeah, if you're waiting till you're ready, big problem. Like,
Yep.
the problem is most people try to figure out like all the way from A to Z. So I need to know A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F, and they're trying to learn it all. What you need to do is just understand that the Z is the outcome, like where you're going and what you want to do. And I don't know, some of the people might say Z, right? My wife's from England, so she doesn't say Z.
Yeah.
So from A to Z, right? And so if you know that's the outcome, like that's the benefit, right? And now from A to B, you see, like, I'm not going to go from A to B because I see some risk. You just have to kind of jump. And I realize that everybody says this, take massive action. This is like a tagline for everyone, right? Go take massive
Yeah.
action. Everybody listening to this who is afraid to take the next step knows that they should take massive action. Like, it's not a secret. Like, they know that. As a coach, if you tell somebody to take massive action, you're not really doing them a service. Like, that's not a good next step for them. You have to
Mhm.
figure out where they are stuck in the risk model. What do they feel is risky? And they're not confident enough to take that next step. So what we need to do, Nick, is we need to figure out how to put them in a decision-making process with no risk. So how
Mm.
do I help you make decisions without any risk? And that's why in the military, we fly a simulator. So we fly in a simulator because I can crash the simulator as many times as I want and I never die.
Yeah.
And so, in my coaching program, what we've created is a simulation. I've created a simulation where real estate investors can come in because in a real estate world, they're like, I could lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like this sounds really risky. In order for me to make 40K, a $40,000 profit, I have to buy this house that cost 150,000, and then I have to put $30,000 of work into it to make 40K. So now I got my upfront risk they see is 170,000. It's not. That's not true, right? The house has a value, but they see 170,000 for a $40,000 outcome, and they go, that's not worth it. That's
Mm.
risky because the world has taught them that doesn't compute, right? And so what I have to do is Nick, if you're interested in getting into real estate and you come into my program, I need to put you in a scenario where you can make decisions and see outcomes without ever having to buy a house. So let me get you used to it and get you practiced a little bit before I send you out into the world to go take massive action, right? And so scenario-based training and simulation, I believe, is the future of business, entrepreneurship, coaching. The coaching model is broken. Right now, it's learn, ask, do. You learn something in a video or in a book or something like that. Then you
Yeah.
ask questions from a coach and they expect you to go out and do it. But there's something missing. There's something missing between ask and do. And that's what our program provides that I think is different than everybody else.
It's very different because I have experienced even in this year several very high coaching offers, and there was not many simulations, like you said. And that's absolutely different. The other thing I wrote here, and I want to ask you, you mentioned in previous question frequently making decisions. This way of you frequently making small decision, is this eventually and mathematically lead you towards making better and correct decisions? Or it's just a habit where you just keep going and making small decisions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the short answer is yes. And let me prove it to you real quick. So in the military, there's a training protocol that we use in naval aviation. There was an Air Force pilot who created this thing called the OODA loop. Okay, OODA, OODA. Okay,
Mhm.
the first O is observe, So you're going to observe everything that's going on. The second O is orient. So you're going to orient yourself based on previous experiences, past history. And by the way, you're doing this right now. Like if you're listening to this, you're doing it. If you're driving your car, if you're working out in the gym, like there's constant little OODA loops that are happening in your life on autopilot that your brain is just not even worried about anymore, but you've trained it to do that. Maybe it's walking, like how close do you walk to somebody? How do you drive your car? How do you change lanes? How do you, like you're looking in the rearview mirror, you're able to listen to this podcast while driving or while walking or while running or those kind of things, which, the first time you drove, you would have had trouble doing this. So observe, we're going to observe, take in all the information. We're going to orient ourselves, which is situational awareness, how perception mirrors reality. So that's based on your past history, things that you've done, decisions you've made in the past, what's worked, what hasn't worked, those kind of things. And the hard part is beginning entrepreneurs, you don't have a lot of situational awareness. You've never had to make this decision. You've never been put in this scenario before, right? And then the D is decide and the A is act. So Nick, your question was, do small decisions create big outcomes or turn into big decisions?
That's right.
So all these little micro decisions that are happening inside this loop is you're observing, you're orienting, you're deciding, you're acting, and then you're observing the outcome. And that gives new input that comes in. And now you're orienting yourself again. So if I make a small decision like, yeah, let's invest $5,000 in a media buyer to buy ads for us. Okay. What's the worst thing that can happen? We're going to lose $5,000, lose some money on some of the ads, but we're going to bring in some income. Maybe we lose, maybe, I don't know, if they're really bad, half of that comes back to us, half of it is a cost. And then we're going to decide to fire that person and come up with somebody else, like somebody else. But I'm not like going to wait 6 months to figure out if that person's good or not. I have some metrics that I've put in my head based on my experience and asking my friends and other people that might know media buying, like buying ads, what should be good. And then I'm staying on top of that to make little small decisions to get better. So we're constantly tweaking things and adjusting things to optimize the decisions that we're making. But in the beginning, like you have to get started. If you just sit at orient, which is what most people do, most people just take in information. They never actually decide and act, right? To move forward. Now, just sitting there and doing nothing is also a decision. So you're observing something, you're orienting yourself, saying, this is uncomfortable. I'm deciding to do nothing. I'm acting on nothing. And then I observe more information. Nothing's changing. Like you're not moving forward. You'll never move forward by just staying stationary. You'll just gather more information. You might be the smartest person on the planet, but you've never actually done anything.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The way to move forward is to make these small incremental decisions along the way. Just go from A to B, B to C. And each of these have a little OODA loop, OODA, OODA loop. So that's the military version of it. I employ it in my business. I teach it in our coaching of understanding this OODA loop is really, really important for an entrepreneur and knowing where you are. And the way that you orient yourself better, get better situational awareness, is you have more experience. You actually have experiences. Whether it works or it fails, it doesn't matter. Both good. It makes you better.
Absolutely. And this is amazing. This OODA loop is something what I'm going to implement right after this conversation in all my business decisions. And I knew that there is something very special about you, and I'm slowly discovering it. Looking back.
Well, that was Colonel Boyd. There's a guy named Colonel Boyd that created it. So you can look it up. You guys should do some research on it. Like if you're listening to this and check it out, dive in there. There's a ton of
Definitely.
white papers and military training on it and stuff like that. It's a phenomenal model, and it's the way we all make decisions naturally.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Looking back, what was one thing you wish you have done differently on your journey?
I get this question a lot on podcasts and interviews and YouTube interviews and stuff like that. And like honestly, I wouldn't change anything. So people are like, hey, if you could, most people are like, oh, I'd get started way earlier, or I would have bought my first house when I was 16 or something like that. I hear this all the time. I really do believe that like when the time is right, we will do the thing that we need to do. I believe in God. I feel like we have a calling. I feel like we get a tap. I feel like we get these little nudges. And so don't beat yourself up for like should've, could've, would've, didn't, haven't, those kind of things. So that's one thing. I think everything in my life, the upbringing, the people that I've met, the decisions that I made along the way have set me up exactly in the moment that I'm in right now.
Thank you.
Obviously, I wish I invested in myself earlier on. But I don't know if I was ready I bought my first coaching program in 2015. I was 35 years old. I could easily say, oh, I wish I got into personal development when I was 20 or 25, but I was immature. I was making poor decisions around that time. I was just living my life. I didn't know any difference. I feel like I got unplugged from the matrix and got thrown into this entrepreneurial journey about 10 years ago. And, sometimes it's like, I wish I didn't know some of the stuff that I know now. Like I can't turn
Mm.
my brain off. There's a lot of things. I love business. I love building things. I love growing things. I would say if I could give anybody some advice, though, it would be to pick your partner really, really carefully. So and what I mean, your spouse or your partner, like that is probably one of the biggest decisions that you'll ever make in your life, to pick the right spouse, the right partner, and don't second guess yourself, like after 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, you're probably going to be like, was this the right? Yeah, there's going to be a time where you're like, man, this is hard. And just keep leaning into that, keep pouring in relationship. So there's like when I go back, if I could say there was one thing that I would have loved to have done differently, the first year that I started building my business in 2015, I went to my wife and I joined this coaching program and I said, hey, I'm not going to be around very much this year. We had a newborn baby. He was like 6 months old, just one kid. I said, I'm not going to be around very much this year, but I'm going to build a business that can take care of us for the rest of our lives. I'll never have to work again if I don't want to. And she said, okay. And so I spent the early mornings, the late evenings, pretty much like every day for a year, just building the business. And then I got to the second year and we had a really successful business. I told you we made $600,000. We did 67 houses. And I kept going. I didn't check back in with her. And I didn't renew the contract. I didn't say, hey, is it okay if I keep building this? Is it okay? I really am enjoying this. I love it. I want to start coaching. I want to start developing. I want to keep building. And I never went back to my wife and said, hey, how do you feel about that? And I was around a lot, but my brain was constantly working. I was there, but I wasn't there, if you know what I mean. Like I was there, but
Yeah.
I couldn't unplug enough to be present. My kids might have to say my name twice before I heard them the first time. And my brain's just constantly working. So I would say if I could go back and do something different, it would have been to renew that contract every year, every 6 months, sit down with my wife and talk to her about that. Because in 2020, she asked me for, or 2020, she asked me for a divorce. We did not get divorced. We worked through it. There was but I deteriorated the relationship over those 5 years just by building the business and not cultivating and continuing our relationship. So I was like, we were like 1 degree off for many, many years. That created a really big issue. So if there's one thing I could do differently, it would be that for sure.
Love it.
But we're still together. We're still married. We have
Absolutely.
3 kids. We have a great life. Yeah, all that stuff. So
Congratulations.
it's not a sad story. Yeah.
My congratulations to that. Recently, I was watching a video of Ty Lopez, and he was saying that in our brain, we have to live the life, not only to live business life, we have to live each type of life, like religiously, if we are religious, physically, to work out, to stay in shape, business wise, family, and so on. And I love what you're bringing in here is very powerful. My question is now out of the questions which I prepared for you. Uh, if your wife would ever say to you, don't make that decision, would you listen to her or you would still probably be on your path and on your journey?
I think it depends. I know that, so my wife is a little different, I think, than most entrepreneurial spouses. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs have a similar spouse to me. My wife is not in the business. She has no desire to like come watch me speak or be at the events with us. She'd rather sit and read a book or be by herself and things like that. And so my wife is supportive in different ways. So she'll like stay at home with the kids when I go on my, um, she'll come with me, but she's not there in the front cheering me on and supporting me at presentations and telling me how awesome I am or any of that stuff, right?
I
And so,
understand
but
that.
I can tell you every time I ask my wife, she says to me, well, what do you think? What do you want to do? And what do you think you should do? And I tell her and she goes, okay. And so I remember the first coaching program I bought, it's $25,000. And I was like, that's a car. I was in the liability mindset. Wasn't even, never invested, never even bought a book before this or a coach or an event or a ticket or anything. And I said to her, what do you think I should do? And she goes, well, do you think you can do it? And I said, yeah. And she goes, okay, then go do it. And so that's kind of the way that it works. I have definitely fought. There's some times where is like, I don't know. What does that mean? What does it look like? Like I
Mhm.
took a pretty big CEO job recently, about 7 or 8 months ago, with a big marketing firm, a big marketing company, like digital marketing company, with a huge brand. And I told her about it, and she's like, well, you know, do you want to do it? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, what does that mean? Are you going to be gone? Is it going to be really busy? And I said, I'd probably be a lot of the same. I said, it might be a little bit more work. Maybe in the evenings, I might have to open a computer just because I'm still running my other business. We were building a pool at the time, and I was like, this could pay for our pool, and it would be a lot of fun for me. And she goes, what do you mean it could pay for the pool? I was like, well, I mean, I'm going to be making pretty good money, so it could pay for the pool. And she's like, all right, I think you should do it. So,
Yeah.
I haven't really been in scenarios like that. There are times where and she doesn't tell me directly, don't do it. It's just like this indirect, passive response that I have to navigate and figure out and decode from female to male, like feminine to masculine energies. And so, yeah, it's a good question. I don't, I think I'd like to say that I would respect her opinion, and I know I will, but I usually try to find
Nice.
the solution to get what I want and get what she wants so we can have some sort of compromise. I feel like relationship has some compromise in it for sure.
Hey, you. This isn't for you if you want to get just better at sales. This is for people who want to truly dominate it. Either it's DMs, calls, webinars, keynote speaking presentations, or any other form, Instagram or Facebook stories as well. The game has changed. AI, it's just around the corner. So if you're relying on old sales scripts, old sales pitches, or if you're relying to learn sales from the old books written even 2 or 3 years ago, to not even speak about 10 or 20 or 30 years ago bestsellers, you're losing the game. Your sales will not perform on the best way. See, this is why I created this community. To give you unfair sales advantage in every format, every tool, for every buyer. Cold DMs, sales calls, sales pitches, understanding the sales pitches, breaking down sales objection, and everything else what you need to understand when it comes to different tonalities and sales psychology, so that you understand how to better perform your sales. This isn't another Slack, WhatsApp, or Telegram group. This is a community of people who want to become not just better at sales, sales dominators. It's free, and you can join it just by clicking the link below in the description of this video. Love it. We're coming to the balance, and I think that this is the key for successful and healthy lifestyle.
Well, on that point, balance, I think is people talk about that all the time. They're like, you should have balance. And I can tell you right now, 100%, you need balance if you want to build something really big. And so if you want to build a big business, you have to have imbalance, and you have to accept that. And the more you can accept it, the more you can do the things that you want to do. If you want to have like a really like killer rock star physique, you want to have a great body, you want to be in shape, you want to have six-pack abs, you want to do that, like you have to sacrifice in areas. Like
Absolutely.
when I was building my business, if you look at the wheel, like a wheel, your life is a wheel, and there's tens on all the outside, you're never going to be 10 out of 10 at everything. And I'm talking about family, I'm talking about spiritual life, I'm talking about fun, I'm talking about finances, your business, your health, relationships with other people, all that stuff. Like you're going to have to sacrifice in some areas. And what I would say is intentionally sacrifice in certain areas for a period of time, and get back there, and then work to just get 1 or 2 points better as you're towards like an 8 all around. So when I was building my business, I was like nonstop, morning, evening, during the day I was flying for the military, and I was staying in like decent shape. I mean, I got fat, I got overweight, I was out of breath when I was walking up the stairs, built this business and making millions of dollars. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna hire a coach. And then I got like my six pack came back. I was in better shape than I ever was when I was in college school even. But that took weighing out all my food, saying no to things when I went out to eat with my family, like discipline, walking, getting my steps in, like everything, nutrition, spending money on coaching, spending money on supplements, those kind of things. And then, sure enough, I did that for 4 years, and then I'm in like the fat phase again. So I hired a coach last week to get back in shape again. And this morning I took an extra hour prepping all my food, cooking everything, getting ready for going to the gym. and all that stuff. So it's a balancing act. I'm like, dang, I'm down at a 4 again in nutrition. I got to get back up to an 8. And I need accountability when it comes to that. And so I'm gonna have to sacrifice some things to do that. Possibly some business time, possibly a few hours, hour in the morning, hour in the evening to get my steps in, to walk, those kind of things. But that's also gonna help my relationship. I'm gonna walk with my spouse. I'm gonna take the dogs for a walk. Me and my wife walked to get dinner the other night, and then we walked home. And we got 10,000 steps in just going on date night. And we both ate really healthy when we were there. I didn't get dessert. I haven't even eaten sugar in 3 weeks now. So stuff like
Awesome.
that, it's just you have to sacrifice in some areas. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel about that because I'm on a keto diet and I build my lifestyle around that and I really love it. I want to ask you another thing, like in high pressure environment, military speaking, you have to make very quick decisions, probably sometimes fraction of a second. In
Yeah.
business, maybe not that fast, maybe still high pressure environment, but maybe not that fast decision it's in need. Can you give me some correlation between these two? And can you tell me how do you apply that mindset of fast-paced world of real estate?
Yeah. I definitely think there are decisions that you should make fast decisions. I think that really great entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, they make quick decisions,
Hmm.
and but it's based on outcomes. We talked about it a little bit, but for the military, the other thing is it's not you don't have life and death decisions, so it's kind of nice in business. You might think it's really bad, but every time you have to make this decision that you perceive to be life and death, just think about the people that are overseas right now making life and death decisions. So you really don't have a lot of risk on your plate. We're talking about losing money. I'm like, so what? Like you can make it back. It's not a big deal. Like, yeah, you might lose money, but you're going to learn something. You never make that mistake again. So what I think is like you have to be able to take the information that you have at the time. And so what I think people don't do enough of, we do well in the military, and I know that I do well in business, is gather more information, as ask questions and get the relevant data and information that you need in order to make an informed decision. So a lot
Hmm.
of times you might not look at when I'm flying an airplane, I'm looking at all the gauges and dials and looking outside and formulating a bunch of information and making a decision. You probably don't observe long enough in the OODA loop. Possibly you're not asking the right questions or taking in information. So I probably ask more questions than most people to try to understand the problem before I make a decision, and to make like split decisions in the military, like fast, like you're talking about, you have to constantly be taking in information almost like a computer. And
Hmm.
so I think in business, like what we really need to do is just make faster decisions, but gather more relevant and important data and information up front. So a lot of times when you're put in a position and you can't make the decision, you just probably haven't spent enough time engulfed in the information and the data that's needed to make that decision, which means you're not plugged into your business well enough. You're like too unplugged, you're too aloof, you're not asking the right questions on meetings and calls and gathering data and having a decent enough dashboard in your business to be able to make that split decision. So if you can't make fast decisions, it means you probably don't have the right information. You're not getting fed it. Your systems, your process, your structure is off and wrong.
This
Those are a
probably,
couple things that would come to mind.
yeah, that's probably the reason why create adapt in making decision, just being a lack of information as well in sales, which I'm doing. And I want to ask you, what was the most rewarding deal you ever worked on and why it is?
Hey, but before I answer that, you said something about sales. Let's talk about that for a second because decision making in sales is interesting. I feel like salespeople, a lot of times, the problem that salespeople have is they jump to a conclusion or they make assumptions
Oh yeah,
and they use their own words and their own terminology instead of asking the
scripted.
prospect what they want, what they need, where they are, and gather more information because the sales, I don't make any decisions in the sales process. Like you're giving me all the information and I'm getting you to decide. Like if we're in a sales conversation, me and you, Nick, like I'm just asking questions, a lot of Socratic questioning, those kind of things, and then I'm letting you make the decision. So I might just be persuading you in one direction or nudging you in one direction, but I need you to make the decision. Otherwise, you're going to have buyer's remorse. You're going to cancel. You're not going to like it. You're going to be, if I help you make this decision or I tell you how great it's going to be, or I'm I'm convincing you. Convincing is to get somebody to do something they don't want to do versus persuasion, which is get something to do something they've already decided to do, but do it faster. I'm going to lose in that situation long term. So I need to just ask you good questions. Sales, same thing. I'm gathering information. Hey, why are we on this call? Why, hey, why are you thinking about making a switch? What? Because I do this all the time. I raise a lot of money for real estate deals, and my favorite thing to do is talk to people about their money. They come to me and they're interested in getting involved in some of my real estate deals. And that's my favorite sales conversation because it's not even a sales conversation. It's a consultation. Like, where's your money now? How much are you making on your money? Why are you thinking about moving it from there to here? Why do you want to work? There's a lot of people that do this kind of stuff. Why work with
Yeah.
me and not else? There's lots of things that can be done in that realm. So sales is interesting. People don't think that that's like decision-making process, but like I'm getting the prospect to decide. I'm sorry. You said that and I was like, yeah, it fits
I
exactly what we were
absolutely,
just talking about.
I
Salespeople
absolutely agree with you.
jumping to assumptions, conclusions. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Recent multiple nine-figure coach who is into the sales, he told me people should bring God model into the sales. When I asked him, what do you mean by that? Is this means me having more belief that I can make this deal happen and to be beneficial for both sides? Or what do you mean? He said, no, 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 Nick, nothing about that. How Jesus used to answer questions being asked for multiple people. He asked another question, which literally persuade the person that by answering that question, coming closer to the decision. All you have to do is to stop explaining and to keep asking the questions. So this model and your model, it's absolutely close. Getting back on this, can you tell me the most rewarding deal you ever worked on and why?
Uh, you know, I have this like very early on in my career, I used to actually go to the appointments to buy the houses. And there was this one lady that I met, um, and just it's interesting when we buy houses, we buy them at like 50 cents on the dollar. So, deep discount on the houses. It's kind of like a pawn shop. If you think about a pawn shop, it's like people go into a pawn shop because they're going to sell their diamond ring, their grandmother's diamond ring, and they need cash fast, right? So they know they're
Absolutely.
going to sell it at a discount. They need to move fast. So when we work with people, that's kind of the people that we end up working with is somebody who's in a situation where they can't wait to sell it on the market. They don't want to fix it up, but they don't have the money. They can't get full price. They just want to move on and move fast. They want to trade equity in their house for ease and speed of transaction is the way I think about it. And so this woman called me and she's having some problems. She had just found out that she was diagnosed with cancer,
Mhm.
but not only her, but also her daughter. So
Wow.
both of them cancer at the same time in like stage 4 cancer, like really far along. And her daughter was in Tampa, Florida area, and then she was in Pensacola, Florida, which is like up in the Panhandle where we live, so pretty far away from each other. And she wanted to sell her house and move down to Tampa, and her daughter lived with her for the last, while they were getting treatment and stuff like that. But she couldn't afford a condo down there, and she found the perfect condo that she wanted, but she didn't have any money. And so I was talking to her and I probably paid a little bit too much for the house, but the whole story, everything, I wanted to help them. And before I bought the house, she needed a down payment on the condo to hold it for her. So I gave her $10,000 before she even sold me her house to put the down payment on the condo. And we ended up buying the house. She moved down there, and I mean, she came to the closing table and was in tears, just crying. And I still have a picture of me and her at my attorney's office after I bought her house, and took care of her. I helped her move. I gave her some money to move, pack up a truck and move down to Florida to Tampa with her daughter. And I don't know whatever happened to her. I should really like look it up, but I'm kind of afraid to. But I that's the kind of stuff that I love doing. Is like that story has stuck with me for 10 years of being in her house, getting to know her, spending time with her. I probably was there 5 or 6 times talking to her and just her and helping her. And that's the cool thing that we can do as real estate investors. I think that people's houses are probably the most expensive thing that they own most of the time, and it's a really big transaction. And if we can help walk them through that and support them, and it makes up for all the people that call us like yelling at us thinking we're scammers and stuff like that. And so that's one that sticks out to me, probably the best. I think I made like $5,000 on that deal or something. Definitely the most money I've ever made, but probably one of the biggest impact that I've made in the business, which is more important than money most of the time.
Absolutely love it. It speaks a lot about who you are, that people do not need to perceive you, just that you came there to make a bunch of money for yourself. And this is a very powerful story. And thank you for sharing that one. Uh, Speaking about real estate, so many people hop in real estate thinking, oh yeah, there is a fast money. But so many of them end up in, I would say, endless loop of never being able to scale the business. What was your tipping point for scaling your business, and how much this changed from the time you scale in today's model of businesses?
Yeah, hiring the right people was definitely the
Mm,
thing. So in the beginning, it was just me. We didn't, I didn't really do that much. I told you I did one house a year. And then I hired a phone person. And even me and the phone person, so I was flying full time and she would call me or she would answer the phones. We sent out marketing, she answered the phones. And she did great answering the phone, setting appointments, but then I'd go on the appointments and we just wouldn't get the deal. So and then I hired a salesperson. We call them acquisitions managers. They acquire the houses. And so when she came in, she just started locking up contracts like incredible. So that was a key hire. The whole combo, the three of us.
mhm.
And because I could do the back end work, I'm really good as a, back end optimization, data, running the marketing campaigns, things like that. I was really good at that, the numbers. And then Dee Dee could answer the phones, and then Eunice would go on the appointments. It was just a really good combo of the three of us. So that kind of exploded the business. And then I started, adding people here and there. But that's it. And then hiring a COO a couple years after that, that was really, really beneficial for me. I was working 2 hours a week in the business. I just did a meeting with him and he did everything else. And so I was able to unplug from that, build a coaching business, and yeah, it's kind of the rest is history. So I think every business, it's about delegating and elevating yourself to the next level and finding the right people, and the people that got you one place might not get you to the next place. That's the hardest part as the owner and the CEO and the driver of the business is to let some people go that the business is outgrowing the people. And so I've had to make
Mm,
some of those decisions really hard to do, but the right people in the right seats, that is the firepower behind a good business is, having people that have the same values, having great core values inside the company, having people that are driving that direction and knowing where they're going, having a clear vision, mapped out vision, all the arrows pointing in the same direction. That's huge and really powerful.
Speaking about right people in your business, no matter what size your business is, eventually in certain moment you need people and you need to delegate work. The thing which I found at the very beginning of my entrepreneurial journey back 2018, 19, 2020, uh, I found that for me it's quite hard let certain people go in the way when the business grow because I take it too personally from two sides. First side, I like the people who were there for a certain time. Second reason, I take it as my non-success in that moment because my belief is they might be coachable. Maybe just I'm not able to coach them to they touch the certain level which already business touched itself. What are your thoughts on that? How in this way we should make our decisions based on emotions or on pure logic and using the system where we see the results and data and operate with them clearly and saying like, okay, that's it. The data never lies.
Yeah.
Or are those people actually able to be coached and should we do something? How do you see whole this situation?
Yeah, the first one is I understand you might like the people. You got to take yourself out and make the best decision for the business. So like work on the business. Like, are they holding the business back?
Mhm.
Um, Although they may have been around for a while, really like I think that as the business grows, the people also need to grow, right? And so what we might have is we might have people that are hitting a ceiling and kind of stuck there, and the business is growing around them, and they're not growing up into the business, which is a problem, right? And we might like them, but I would, and a lot of time those people have been getting raises along the way, you
Yeah,
know? So
absolutely.
they're just like, oh, I've been here for a year, so I'm giving you a raise. And then 2 years, I'm giving you a raise, but they're not producing more outcome for the business. So you really have to kind of take yourself out of that equation and look at it um, like logically. It's hard. I know it's really hard for me too. The other thing is if you're the founder and the owner and the visionary, you might need somebody to come in to make those decisions. So
Mm,
depending on where your business is, you might need a COO or an operational manager or somebody who is coming in. They're looking at the team and they're making some of those decisions and it's out of your hands, right? And you're the person. I always look at the owner and the visionary typically. So I'm a really good number two person. I'm a better number
mhm.
two person. I'm a number one, actually. I'm a better operator, CEO, COO kind of person than I am a visionary owner of a large business, I think. And so I can come in and just like right after this, I have to have a call about somebody who wants a raise. And I'm just going to say, why do you think you need a raise? Like, tell me, like, how much more money are you going to make for the business? Like, just show me what it's going to look like, document it all, and then we'll talk about it. Maybe we produce some outcome, and then we can talk about this next month. And so it's easy for me to have that conversation for the founder. Everybody should love the founder and the visionary. Like they're like the president of the United States. Like everybody should love the president, although they don't. But like the president is always good. Like he wants to have a meeting with you, he can't. You got to have somebody else say no. So that's one way to do it. If you really have trouble personally and the involvement that you have, and you want to be the visionary, you want to pump everybody up, but you don't want to make the tough decisions. Sometimes you have to. And then the second piece that you talked about is, are they coachable? So I always ask myself this too. The first thing that I would recommend though is, and it's an easy tool to use. So John Maxwell wrote a book called The Five Levels of Leadership. And so what I would do, and it's very practical, like you can look and see what level of leader you are. So here's the problem most of the time. You are not a level 5 leader or a level 4 leader. Maybe you are not even in level 2. Maybe you're sitting at level 3. So the problem is if you're at the top of the food chain, you're at the top of the chain of command. The only people that you're going to attract are people that are at the same level as you or below. So
That's
one thing, he
powerful.
calls it, John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. So the lid is you. And so if you might be the problem. So first thing I do is I look at me. How can I increase the level that I am as a leader? Because now people will follow me. Now people will come in. I'll be able to attract A players that want to rise up inside the company. Now, if I'm not a producer and I'm not personally involved with these folks and I don't care about them and I'm not spending time with them and I'm not training them, it's a me problem. Like they might be coachable. Now, if you're a level 5 leader and you're killing it inside the business and doing a great job and you're available, you're all these things, and they're not moving up, and then you have to decide, is it worth coaching them up, or you either coach them up or coach them out. Those are the two ways to do it. Coach them up or coach them out. They definitely need coaching, but I'm going to coach them up or coach them out of the business. And those are some of the hard decisions that we have to make. But those and Patrick Lencioni has some great books too. Ideal Team Player is one that I absolutely love. Ideal Team Player is hungry, humble, and smart. So if they're hungry, humble, and smart, and they're coachable, then I'm going to work on coaching them up very quickly. If I can't coach them up, I got to coach them out. And so
Mm.
those are two things I would say. What level leader are you? Take a look at that because you're probably the lid on the business. Extreme ownership is another great one. That's one that I absolutely love. It's like everything is your fault, business and your life, everything. Like, what could you do better if your people are not good? Why is that? You're attracting poor people. You're keeping them too long. You're you know all these things.
I
So
absolutely
there's
love
one thing
it.
that I heard another quote that's like, oh, what's this quote? It's like if you so somebody's like, well, like why would I spend time like teaching and coaching this person? It's like, well, there's two things that are going to happen. You're going to coach them up to be better, or you're going to realize that they're not there. But what's worse than that is that they might stay. They might stay
Mm.
and give you poor performance. So either way, you're going to suffer. So I would encourage you to coach your people up or coach them out.
I really love that, and I especially love the books you recommended. I heard for them, I never read them. That's my bad. So I'm taking this as an advice right now. And you're saying on the first part of the question that you're very good as a second person in your business. Is this mean that you're absolutely able of pushing out your ego and saying that, all right, no matter what I feel or think, this is for the sake of business? Or you still hold some certain ego, but you just purely look at the numbers and data you have?
The ego word is interesting. I think ego can be really, really good. Um, so there's good ego and bad ego. So bad
Okay.
ego is like, I'm awesome, I'm incredible, and I can never do anything wrong.
Mm.
The good ego is I want to win, and like we're going to win together, and we should have a little bit of a swag when we walk and what we do. So I think there's a little bit of that you need to keep as a business owner and anybody really. Like you should just be proud of your work, proud of what you do. Put your stamp on it when you sign your name. You know that it means something to you, and that's like I feel the good side of ego is like the need to win, the drive, that kind of stuff. So I definitely won't leave that behind. But the bad side of ego of like, you know, uh, I don't know, the marketing math, the making stuff up, the I'm always right, that kind of thing. Like I'm 100% fine with being wrong, but I'm also going to go head to head with you to like, I want you to bring me, I want you to get better. Like I want my people to get better. I want to be a great coach inside the business. I want to be a great supporter of my people. I want them to know that, yeah, it means a lot to me that our bottom line is solid. And the way that we do that is we all get better. Like if you're not growth is massive for me. Personal and professional development is one of my core values. If you're not getting better, then you're just dying. So yeah, all of us should be growing inside the business all the time. So the number two thing is more like it's really challenging inside of some of my businesses that I own because the visionary piece, I know where we want to go and where we need to go, but the problem is I can also do it myself. And
Mhm.
so that serves me in some ways and fails me in others. Some of the biggest entrepreneurs that are out there, the biggest business owners, the most incredible visionaries, they can't do it themselves. They don't care about the details. They just want to get it done. They think big. They're fine. They can delegate so easily. They're just like, just do it. I don't even want to hear about it. Like, I don't ever tell me about it. And I can't like I like the details. I like the doing. I'm like an architect. Like I want to draw it and design it and everything and be involved in executing on it. So that holds me back for sure. So I think the moral of this conversation and this question right here, like the outcome is you have to know yourself really, really well. You have to know
Mhm.
your personality profile, your characteristics, what you're really good at, what you're not good at, and just lean into that. Like spend more time getting to know yourself and what you love doing, what you're best in the world at, and what has the ability to make you money, and try to get rid of most of the rest of the stuff and find other people that love doing that. Like right now, my behind this beautiful camera and beautiful picture, my desk is a mess, my office is a mess, there's stuff everywhere. Like I need an office manager to come here and just clean it all up because I'm never going to do it. I'm just going to keep going and going and going, and I'm not going to throw any of this stuff out or clean it up. And so I know that that's a big weak spot of mine, and I need to find other people that like somebody who wants to have an amazing filing system and can clean up my email and clean up the office and all that stuff. Like that's, you know, I just need that in my life. And my car is filthy and dirty and I just leave stuff behind. I need somebody to come in behind me and clean it up. So I just take it off my list. My grass gets long if I have to cut it. So I have to have somebody else come cut it. Like this is little things that I need a lot of support in my world, in my life.
Bill, I want to ask you something now connected with that ego, and this is, can your result ever blindfold you in the way to you say to yourself, wait a moment, I made all this money behind myself, so I might be right.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100. Yeah, absolutely. It's called result bias,
Mm.
result bias. And so, yeah, everyone is susceptible to that. It's like, oh, I've done it. I'm amazing. And yeah, and I will do it again, no problem. Or, oh, next month we're going to we might have lost some money this month, but next month we're going to make so much more. We've done it before. So just be careful of that. I think that happens a lot. That's why you see people that do really well
Absolutely.
that go away. You know, they're not sticking around in the game for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. They'll make money, they'll crash, and then, you know, and I don't think it's like the one hit wonder. I think it is a mindset problem. I think it's just, and most of the time, we talked about this earlier in the show, most of the time the problem is they're not willing to shift strategies or
Mhm.
change their tactics and strategies. They're so set in their ways. They're like, this has worked, I'm going to figure it out. And they're not willing to shift and change and adjust and test. So there's three words that I have written all over my whiteboard walls in my office: hypothesize, test, pivot. I'm hypothesizing that something is going to work. So it's an educated guess. I'm testing it regularly, and then I'm going to pivot from there. So make a slight adjustment, slight tweak, or maybe a big adjustment. But I always know the desired outcome before I do something. I'm going to test it, and then I'm going to pivot and adjust. even if it's little pivots or big pivots. It's a scientific model. It works every time. It has nothing to do. Some of the past history and performance and results will go into my, my situational awareness to make that next decision. But I mean, I'm fine being wrong.
Yeah, because so many people are able to say, like, okay, if you would start from the zero today, what would you do? How would you repeat all that? And then this narrative of, oh, of course, very easy. I already did it. I can do it once again. People very often bring on the table. Now you're talking about that you have to observe other obstacles on your road, and this is the time change certain tactics, and that you have to somehow adapt over that. I want to ask you, uh, how often and do you have some timestamps review in your own business? Because we're speaking here about almost multiple nine figures. We're speaking about nine-figure business. Do you have any timestamps where you say to yourself and to your team, like, all right, let's just see what we did, let's compare it with the past, and let's see the reasons why this is happening? How this management look like?
Okay, I want to go back to the question the comment that you said after my answer. So you said, so here, I do believe this. If you have become a millionaire once, that's all you need to do. Because once you've done it once, you can do it again and again and again. So let's say you lost all your money. So here, maybe this is um, different than what you were saying, but if I made $1 million once, I totally believe you only have to become a millionaire once. Because if
Okay.
you lose it all, you can make it back the second time faster. So you know what it takes to get there. You know what you have to do. You know the work, the effort, the energy, and you can do it faster. Because of the situational awareness that you now have, you might have to be in a different industry. It might have to be something different. But if I lost it all today, if you took all my money away, everything away from me right now, took it all, dropped me on the corner of anywhere on the planet, I could make back 10 times faster than I did the first time. I 100% believe that. And I think anybody else who can leave their ego at the door and start from zero again can do that too, that's already done it. So
Well,
maybe that's different than the question that you asked before, but I 100% believe that you only have to become a millionaire once because you can do it over and over and over again faster than you did the first time. And so if the path from 0 to 1 is way harder than the path from 1 to 100. So that's what I believe.
very powerful. About the timestamps, do you have them in your business?
Yes. Yeah.
You do,
Okay,
right?
so yes, absolutely we do. So there's different times in our, like right now, we run a 5-day challenge for raising capital for real estate investment deals. So I do a 5-day event that we're running every 2 weeks. Okay, and so every time we do it, we run this event, we analyze the outcome. So we run paid traffic, paid media, ads on Facebook, Instagram. We look at the outcome at the end and we make an adjustment. The reason why we don't do it every week is because I'd have to start running ads for the next week before I got all the results from the first week.
Mhm.
And so I'm not willing to do that yet. Like it's not dialed in. We're still pivoting since January. We've been running this since January and we're testing it over and over and over again to figure out how to get it to really pop off and do well because it's phenomenal training. We have an amazing coaching program behind it. And I just need to get more people in there to see it and kind of scale it up because I know it'll change people's lives. Like I totally know it will, and it already has. So we have an outcome that we need that we're targeting every single time, and when we don't get it, we're not throwing it all out and changing everything. We're changing one or two things. It's a full-on science experiment. Like we're just tweaking, adjusting, and trying to get the formula right so that it works every time going forward. I've done this with many other people. You have to have, this is the hypothesis. It's an educated guess of what we think is going to happen. And so in the beginning, you just have to run it. And so if you're thinking about doing something like this, you're launching an event, you're doing even a webinar, a challenge, a 2-day masterclass, a 3-day event, like whatever it is, live, in person, virtual, it doesn't matter. Virtual is better because it's in person, it's going to cost more on the first one. Launch it to your warm audience and your email list and the people that follow you and run it there, okay? Take all that money out of there. So now you make money from it because it was free. You just launched it to your email list, your warm audience, people that know you on social. You take all that money and then you invest it back into paid traffic on the second one. Take all of your conversion rates and cut them in half because the cold traffic, the paid media, probably be half like the warm audience would. and model it out and see if it'll work and then run it. So that's the most free way. You don't have to have a bunch of money to run paid ads. You just take it out of the warm audience, you put it in the machine, and then you run it over and over again. So we definitely have timestamps. We definitely have like drop dead times, no-go times. Like we're going to turn off the ads if we're paying this much. We have to change things. So we have like KPIs, key performance indicators that are the instruments that are determining if we keep spending money, we need to change something, we need to tweak something. But the way that you get that is from doing it once. Like we did it once to our warm audience to give us the baseline. Like you need to have a baseline before you can go out and start testing things. So get your baseline, then you can go test. So hopefully that answered your question.
You answered absolutely powerful, and I actually will have a lot of data here which I can operate in my business, and I believe all our listeners and people who are watching us on the video platforms. You mentioned at the very beginning that you hired a mentor or you paid a coaching program, which was quite expensive that time. How often have you hiring different mentors or coaching programs on your journey, and how big role they play in your success?
Every single year since then, and multiple people. So
Awesome.
yeah, I pretty much have a coach for everything. I don't know. It's over $1 million at this point for sure that I've
Wow.
invested into coaching. I was in Russell Brunson. I'm still am Russell Brunson's coaching community. Probably that's $150,000 a year, the group that I was in for the last 4 years and still am. That's probably the most expensive, down to, an $800. I just bought an exotic car coaching program. It's like $300, and I'm just watching the videos and just learning about exotic cars because I don't know anything about it, but I love them. So, and this guy's got a watch program too. I'll probably buy that eventually because I love watches. So just like, I'm at the point in my life where I realize that I can get somewhere so much faster if I invest in myself and somebody who, like, a book. I mean, if you think about a book for $15 or $10 or whatever a book is, you can buy somebody's in like 10 years of knowledge for $15. I mean, but the book doesn't implement it with you. And so if you could take the book and get that author to then implement that stuff with you, then instead of $15, it's $15,000. But
Yeah.
instead of me trying to figure out over the next 5 years, I can do it in 6 months. Like, time's money. I'm willing to invest money to get my time back and speed it up and get somebody's information and knowledge downloaded to me way faster and sit right next to them and be in a room with them. It's game changer. But you have to do something with it. Like, all these programs work. They all work. You have to work it. So all the good ones, there's probably some really crappy ones out there that send you to call centers and things like that. But investing in a coach is the best thing I ever did. Every business should have 3 legs of a stool. I look at it 3 legs of a stool. One is a coach and a mentor, a peer-to-peer network. So one leg is a coach. The other one is a peer-to-peer network. So most of the coaching communities, they have like, a community, they got a Facebook group, they got, a platform where you can talk to the other people in there,
Supporting
peer-to-peer.
communities.
And the third one is an operating system. The third one's an operating system. Some method, some structure that you're building your business off of. You have to have some operating system. So if you remove any one of these legs, the whole thing falls over.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to have all 3. Most people don't have all 3. They don't have another business owner that they're talking to or multiple other business. They don't have, or maybe they do have that, but they don't have a coach or a mentor. Or maybe they don't have an operating system. So they have these 2 and they're just running their business blindly. And so you got to have all 3. That's my advice.
What's the most common mistake you can see that investors make even nowadays after being exposed to so much of content, to so many information, to multiple offers, coaching, mentors? What are they still making as a big mistakes, and how can they avoid it?
Yeah, you're listening to too many people.
Yeah.
I have a friend who says one coach, one approach, and I love that.
Wow.
One approach. You got to turn off the noise if you're doing something. You go all in. So let's just say this exotic car thing, right? So I'm interested in that. I'm not going to watch 5 different people's YouTube channels on their strategy around exotic cars. I'm not listening to 10 podcasts about it. I'm not reading 15 books from all different authors because they all have different strategies and different tactics. I'm just like, okay, I bought this thing. I'm gonna go on blinders. This is my person now. Unless I'm like, okay, this person, I don't agree with this, all this stuff that's here. This is not me. Okay, now I can move over here. But I'm not going to do, most people, this is what they do. They take 60% of what this guy's teaching, 30% of what this guy's teaching and 10% of what this guy's teaching and try to put it together in a Frankenstein model. And they're wondering why it's not working. It's not working because you're not running the entire system. You just need one coach, one approach. Just pick one, go all in, read their books, listen to their podcasts, go into their program, just turn off the noise. We're drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. And so turn off all the information. Like stop, you gotta put your blinders on. That's the biggest problem in today's society. There's so much information. There's so many people out there that are teaching, coaching, giving, and people are they're stuck because they don't know, oh, this person said this, but then this person said this. If you're listening to 10 different people's podcasts right now, that's why you're stuck. If you're in 5 coaching programs, that's why you're stuck. Like one coach, one approach, one.
In the same time, is this most misunderstood aspect of a business when it comes to real estate investing? Or you feel that something else it's mostly misunderstood?
Are you asking me what is the most misunderstood aspect of a real estate
Yes.
business? Yeah, I think the fact that it's like everybody's just trying to get rich. Real estate business is the most incredible part of real estate business is it helps like thousands of people are involved in one transaction. I mean, you have a title company with multiple reps there. You have a seller, you have a buyer, you have real estate agents on both sides. You have contractors, probably 15 contractors and then subcontractors that are working on the property. You're putting property tax back into the community. You're fixing up the house in the neighborhood. So all the other neighbors are excited about that because it increases their property value. You're paying sales tax on all the materials that are being bought at the local hardware stores and things like that. All the people that are at your project are eating out at all the restaurants. So they're putting sales tax, they're paying for the restaurants, the owners, like all this stuff. Like there's so many people that are impacted in this one house. Think about me doing 200 of those a year.
Yeah.
And there's probably 1 million people that are being impacted by that. And you got money lenders, you got people that lend money and make passive that aren't even there. It's unbelievable the amount of impact that you can make from just one house. So I think that's really misunderstood. People are like, oh, that guy's fixing up this house, make a ton of money. And even people in the neighborhood are like, oh, there's another flipper over there. Well, guess what? We're the
Yeah.
ones that, keep a massive part of the economy running right now. And that goes for all entrepreneurs. Like entrepreneurs in themselves, if we took them away, the entire economy of the entire world would collapse. Like
Absolutely.
we make this world, I mean, God makes the world turn, but we are so involved in the financial outcome and what's happening in the world today. Like we're creating new things, new jobs, new businesses, new ideas, innovation. So real estate investors for sure. I'm proud of them. They're out there putting in the work and making a massive wave of impact.
Bill, I love it. I have here a couple of more questions which I want to ask you because people would, out of this episode, get all about success, success, success. What about failure and setbacks? Do you have them? Do you experience them? How do you handle them? How do you bounce back them? How do you deal with this?
Yeah, for sure. Tons of failure. I mean, I mentioned the failure in my relationship already, so that's one, right? I think I fail pretty much daily, fail to, I don't know, live up to my own standards, some of the things that I want to do, totally human. I think we all approach this. So, big failures in the business. I mean, during COVID, I was making payroll for like 6 months. We were trying to pivot to a national offer company where we could buy houses all across the country. We had a great idea. I dumped like $500,000 into software development. I pulled the plug because it just wasn't coming along the way that it should. I mean, I look at that as a pretty big failure. I had to let go of a lot of people. I had to just flush 500 grand down the toilet, So
That's a
that's
lot.
that's stunk. But I mean, failure is inevitable. I think the way that you bounce back from that is how do you recover from that? Like what do you learn? What do you do differently? Um, how do you make changes? How do you adjust your decision making process in the future um, of that?
The-
Like what's next? And so that's the way. It's just you don't beat yourself. You have to fail. Like if you fail, the more you fail, the more you're going to succeed. And so failure is just a stepping stone on the way to success. So
yeah,
I would encourage it. I don't like love when it happens, but if you look at every great thing that's happened in your life, like the biggest things that have happened in your life that are positive, they probably came on the back of something very negative, of a
mm,
failure, of a horrible decision, of something that happened that was like life-changingly bad. On the other side of that is life-changingly good. So like when you're in it, it's like, when you're in the walking through the brown to get to the green pastures, like it's just a matter of time. So if you're in the crap right now, just be really excited because you're almost at that green pasture. Like something really big is coming. So if you're going through something hard right now, don't get stuck in the hard. Just realize that something really big is coming soon, which is great.
I love it. It's inspirational. And you know how they say that the calm sea never shape experienced sailor. But I want to ask you, in your own failures, in the moment something happened unpredictably or maybe unpredictably, but you overlooked that. What's the best piece of advice you received and who gave it to you?
There's a guy named Walter Bond. He's a public speaking Hall of Fame. He was on stage at one of my events one time, and he said, "Is this like pity party example?" He's like, you can have a pity party, but it can't last longer than one day. And so he's like, if something bad happens, you want to just cry about it and turn on some Lionel Richie and just have your little pity party. You get one day, and then you get back after it. And so, and he's like, and even better, 1 hour, 10 minutes, whatever it takes to spend on the size of the problem. But it's just like shake it off and get back to work. So that's one that sticks out to me. And he's a really funny guy. So he starts singing Lionel Richie, and he's like, it's like starts crying a little bit and tells the story. And then he's like, your pity party's got to end after a day. That's it, and just get back to work. So that's my advice.
Most of the people would say you achieved a lot in very short period of time, right? But my question to you is, how do you see the future? What's the vision for future and what do you expect to be happening?
Well, I love my life. I have a lot of really cool stuff right now going on. I have 13 acres in my backyard. That's a big farm for our community. We feed 300
Nice.
people every single year with different subscription products, do a farmer's market. I get to fly around my airplane all the time, just going to different places. I love that. Kids are getting a little bit bigger. We put a pool in. So, I mean, for me, it's like the money is fine. Like I love making money primarily because it's a scoreboard and I just like to win. I like to win at stuff. So money doesn't really mean a ton to me other than, it's kind of that scoreboard and it gives you a lot of options, right? I love options of what we want to do. But I think it's really about giving back. Like I'd like to be more well known. I'd like for more people to come into our community and our world so that we can help them. And I think the future for me, I get asked this a lot. I like that I'm in a position to make the decisions that kind of light me up and get me excited. And I get to do the things that I really like to do, as opposed to the things that I have to do. And so I'm in a great place in my life where I can say yes to things that I want to do and no to things that I don't want to do. And I think that's really freedom, right? That's where we're trying to go, is have the freedom to do things that give me energy and get me excited, like this show, and then say no
Thank
to the
you.
stuff that doesn't. And so that's yeah, that's where I'm at. And I think I don't have like a big giant plan. We have a software business and consulting business that I would like to sell one day. We have some other things going on. Kind of just one foot in front of the other. I'm a very much A to B, B to C guy. So I don't really
I
Z
love
in
it.
the future. Yeah.
I love it. You're pretty much modeling principles, how you lead your business in your own life. And one of the last questions, which I want personally also to ask you for myself, is that in your opinion, what's the most important quality skill that separates very successful entrepreneurs for those who don't make it?
Extreme ownership. They take
Extreme ownership.
responsibility for their own action. Yeah, you got to take responsibility for your actions. You accept that, and I think that's one. And then I would also tack on integrity. I think a lot of people talk about it, but I don't know if a lot of people exemplify it. So your name means a lot, and doing what you say you're going to do is really important. And so those two go hand in hand. Do what you say you're going to do, and take responsibility if you don't do the right thing or something gets messed up, like fall on the sword and take responsibility for your actions. Those two are like
Thank you.
those are non-negotiables.
Love it. I remember back in 2021, when I sold 35% of my current company back that time in China, there was a situation where the guy who wanted to buy, he asked me, is it certain things done? And I said, oh no, designer haven't prepared those labels. And he said like, What have I to do with that? And I said, well, but he didn't prepare it, so like I couldn't deliver it, and then we're wait. Did you hire him? Yeah. Did you make that decision? Yeah. So, man, it's on you. It's not on him. The fact that he didn't finish, it's on you. It's your fault. It took me a long time to accept that back that time, and I can say that how the time goes, I more and more see that this ownership is really and truly important. And thank you for sharing this. Lastly, if you could leave one piece of advice for someone who is currently stuck, trying to figure out flipping the Rubik cube of the business and of their career, what would that be? What would be this advice to them?
Figure out what your biggest problem is of where you're stuck, and then find something or someone that can help you get unstuck in that one area. So it's not 50 things that you need to figure out. You just need to figure out one, and then go really deep on that until you solve that problem, and that problem will create another problem. And then hopefully that same person or same thing could help you there. But if not, go find the next person that can help you with the problem. What I mean by that is maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a YouTube video, maybe it's a coaching program, maybe it's a one-on-one mentor. But find that person that can help you get unstuck, or that book or that thing, and read it until you get unstuck. Don't move on to the next thing until you fix that one thing. That's it. Like, it's that simple. If you got a sales problem, go really deep in sales. Find the sales coach. If you've got a marketing problem, figure out specifically what marketing problem it is. If you have an operational problem, what is it? Who can help me with it? And that will move you through so much faster. And people ask me all the time, well, who should I pick as my mentor? Find somebody that has the life that you want, the business that you want, the characters and values that you have, and pick them. The reason why I'm in Russell Brunson's program is because I know that Russell is a great guy. Like, he's got the integrity, he's got the personality. Like, I aspire to be more like him in my life and my business. And I knew that he would attract a lot of other people like that, because they're the head recruiter. That coach of a program is a head recruiter. And so find somebody like that, go all in on that, and get your problem solved. That'll create a new problem. And then it's a bigger problem. So you solve it, make more money, bigger problem, then find somebody who can help you solve that. Just keep going like that.
Very powerful advice, and thank you so much for sharing that. All this episode was pure golden nugget by golden nugget, and you was really today spilling the beans, and I want personally to thank you for that. And me personally learned a lot. I can just imagine the people who are listening or watching to us. And I assume that many people would now like to know, okay, where can I find Bill Allen, and how can I get in touch with him? What can I learn from him? So tell us how we can easier approach you, and what do you have to offer?
Yeah. Well, you found me on Instagram, so that might be a good place for other people to find me. It's at Bill Allen REI. I'm on YouTube also. I'm going to start putting out a lot more YouTube videos here coming up about business and real estate and things like that. And then so in my bio of my Instagram, I do a 5-day challenge if you're interested in learning about real estate and raising capital for real estate deals. That's a great place to go. It's 7figureflipping.com/Bill, but it's in my bio. And we update that every time we do a new challenge. So I'd love to invite you there. And then we do some consulting with businesses. And that's a company called In the Room. So intheroom.live, intheroom.live. You can check that out there. That's it.
If you made it till the end of this episode with Bill Allen, you are not here to chasing the numbers or to chase overnight success. You are here to spot the meaning behind the numbers. Because yes, $150 million in a real estate empire, it's a huge number. Probably one of the top few guests who made over 9 figures on this podcast. But what Bill really showed us today isn't just about numbers. It's the fact that wealth without alignment is just a noise. And that success, it's not about what you own. It's about what you are willing to own with yourself. The fear, the pressure, the identity you build just to survive, that now feels too small to keep living in. So if this episode triggers something in you, stop here for a second and ask yourself, am I building real something, or am I just escaping from something? And if this question cut too close, let it. It means you're ready to build different. It means you're ready to build differently. Share this episode with your friend, with your cousin, with somebody else who is also ready to build it differently. And hit the subscribe button. Not because of me, because I'm needing another subscriber, but because you're not alone on this journey. journey of transformation. And me and my team, we will do everything to bring more inspiring stories to this podcast and more wonderful entrepreneurs. My name is NGrS, and this was NGrS Show. I will see you in the next one.